Look like Caitlin Clark could be returning this week after all. Guys, for this one here,
the doctors just gave the green light after weeks of rehab, endless speculation, and fans dissecting every tiny clue. Caitlin Clark has made it clear her comeback is on the way. The pain that sidelined her is finally under control. And for the first time since that brutal injury, the Indiana Fever can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But here's the truth. This isn't just a return, this is a statement. Because when Caitlin Clark steps back on the floor, she isn't just playing for Indiana. She's carrying the entire WNBA on her shoulders. And the Fever just made one move that proves it. If you're excited to see Caitlin Clark back, drop Clark time in the comments. Let's show her the support she deserves.
It's back. It's going to be scary from a backcourt standpoint because the two of them with the ball in their hands, without the ball.
That's a threat.
And as a post player, your eyes have to light up. Because if there's that much attention from the backcourt,
they're going to find you.
If you set screens, if you set early drags in transition, sky's the limit.
On paper, it looked like nothing. The Indiana Fever quietly cut guard Kira Lambert, a player most fans barely knew. No highlight reel, no farewell post, not even a thank you. Just gone. But for anyone paying attention, this move was way too suspicious to ignore. Because let's be real, you don't cut a player in the middle of the season unless you're making room for something bigger. And right now, the only something bigger in Indiana is Caitlin Clark. Lambert barely saw the court, 2 games, 1 minute of action. She wasn't part of the rotation, she wasn't part of the future, she was just there to fill a seat. So the second the Fever felt ready to make a move, she was the one to go. And here's the kicker, the timing. If Indiana wanted to cut her, they could have done it weeks ago, but they waited until now, right before the toughest stretch of the season, which is why fans are convinced this wasn't about Lambert at all. It was about clearing the runway for Caitlin's return, but that's only the beginning, because the real clues make it impossible to ignore what's coming next. Every sign, every detail, every whisper, it all points to one thing. Caitlin Clark is closer to her return than anyone expected.
2025, according to the WNBA transactions page, the Indiana Fever released Kyra Lambert. So if that is indeed the end of Kyra Lambert's Indiana Fever tenure, it did not last very long. It was just last week we were figuring out who Kyra Lambert was and what her...
Fever waived Kyra Maxwell, and she didn't even get a thank you post. She didn't even get a thank you post from the Indiana Fever. They didn't even get a thank you, Kyra Maxwell. She didn't get a thank you post. But yeah, a lot of people are celebrating this.
Think about the timeline. Clark has been sidelined for weeks with that groin injury. She didn't travel with the team. She wasn't in warm-ups. And every single update from the Fever has been pure silence. That's not normal. That's not day-to-day. That's a team playing its cards very close to the chest. Now, all of a sudden, they open a roster spot. And not just at any time, but right before a brutal stretch of games that could make or break their season. Back-to-back battles with the Minnesota Lynx, the team sitting at the very top of the league. After that, Seattle, then the Sparks, then the Valkyries. This is survival mode. If you're the Fever front office, you know exactly what that means. Without Caitlin Clark, you don't stand a chance in that stretch. With her, everything changes. Defenses collapse, shooters get open, the energy shifts. She's not just a player, she's the difference between clinging to 6th place and actually making a playoff push. And here's the part that fans picked up on immediately. There are no rumors of overseas signings, no secret trades, nothing else brewing behind the scenes. If this roster spot isn't for Clark, then who's it for? Nobody's buying the idea that Indiana made this move just to add another bench warmer. The Fever could have kept Lambert, she wasn't hurting the team, but instead they made the cut right now. And when you line up the timing with the whispers from insiders like beat reporter Scott Agnes hinting fans should have patience, just a few more weeks, the puzzle pieces snap into place. The truth is obvious. Indiana is preparing for Caitlin Clark's return.
Bring up is a comment that Scott Agnes made on his YouTube channel. Scott Agnes was replying to someone else's comment who said, "Just can't wait until Cece is back. She's the most dynamic, electric player in the WNBA. Great job, Lexi." And then Scott Agnes replied and he said, "Have patience, at least several more weeks." Now, Scott Agnes is a beat reporter for the Indiana Fever. He has been covering them relentlessly all season, and we have gotten a lot of great information from Scott over the season. And I actually went to his YouTube channel and just kind of skimmed through the comments to see if there was anything else. There was one other reply where he was replying to someone and basically said, like, you have to trust me or just trust me. It's up to viewers' discretion. It's up to the fans if they want to believe what he's saying, but several more weeks pretty much puts Caitlin Clark to coming back at the very end.
And that brings us to the biggest question. Why now? Because as exciting as this looks, the timing could also be the most dangerous part of all. Here's where things get tricky. If Caitlin Clark really is about to make her return, the timing couldn't be more brutal. Because her first test back might be against the Minnesota Lynx, the most dominant team in the WNBA right now. We're talking about a team steamrolling the league with one of the best records in years. They punish mistakes, they pressure every possession, and they have the kind of defense that exposes any weakness, throwing Caitlin straight into that fire after weeks on the sideline. That's not just risky, that's reckless. Fans are already split. Some say the Fever need her back immediately no matter what. Others believe rushing her return now could set her up for disaster. One wrong move, one awkward landing, and everything she's worked for could be at risk. And let's be real, we've all seen how veterans treat her. Clark doesn't get rookie treatment anymore. Every foul is harder, every hit is intentional, and every defender wants to be the one to shut her down. Coming back too early against the league's toughest opponent could turn her comeback into another setback. Personally, I'd be nervous too. We've watched Indiana stumble through games without her, and they've managed to hang on in the standings. But throwing her back in against Minnesota feels like baptism by fire. It's like asking her to carry the team before she's even had the chance to get her rhythm back. But here's the catch. The Fever might not have a choice. Their schedule is stacked, their depth is shaky, and without Clark, their playoff hopes could collapse before August, which is why, for better or worse, the timing might force Indiana's hand. And that desperation is exactly what makes the next part of this story so wild, because behind the scenes, the front office might not even agree on how to handle it. If you've been following the Fever this season, you know one thing for sure: the front office and the coaching staff don't always look like they're on the same page. On one hand, you've got Amber Cox and the front office desperate to prove Indiana is relevant again. They know ticket sales, TV ratings, and national headlines live and die by Caitlin Clark. To them, rushing her back feels like a business decision. More eyes on Indiana, more hype for the league. On the other hand, you've got Stephanie White and the coaching staff who actually have to manage the locker room and the risk on the floor. Their priority isn't hype, it's survival, keeping their star healthy, keeping the chemistry intact, and trying to build something long-term. And when those two forces clash, you get exactly what we're seeing now: messy roster moves, sudden cuts, and decisions that feel like desperation more than strategy. Cutting Keira Lambert wasn't about basketball, it was about optics. It was about showing fans, don't worry, Caitlin's return is closer than you think. But that kind of mixed messaging is dangerous, because if Clark isn't ready and the Fever still rush her back, it could backfire spectacularly. Fans aren't going to blame Lambert, they're going to blame the people in charge. And honestly, that tension between the suits upstairs and the coaches on the bench has been visible all season long. Sometimes it feels like the front office is managing for headlines while the coaching staff is just trying to survive the next game. But here's the twist: as chaotic as it looks, the Fever aren't just managing a roster anymore, they're managing a cultural circus, because Caitlin Clark's comeback isn't just a sports story, it's a national event. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player anymore, she's a phenomenon. And that's what makes her comeback so much bigger than a normal injury return. Every single thing she does becomes a headline. If she misses a game, it's front page news. If she limps in practice, social media explodes. If she drops a casual 25 points, suddenly ESPN is running highlight reels for a week straight. The WNBA hasn't seen this kind of attention in decades, and that spotlight changes everything. For opponents, it means every game against her feels like a chance to make a statement. For teammates, it means constant media pressure. And for Caitlin, it means carrying the weight of an entire league every time she steps on the court. That's why her return isn't just about Indiana needing wins, it's about the WNBA needing its biggest star back in the spotlight. Ticket sales spike when she plays, TV ratings double when she's on the floor, merch flies off the shelves. Like it or not, Caitlin Clark is the engine powering the entire league right now. And that's the circus, because when the WNBA needs you this badly, the pressure to come back faster, play through pain, and put on a show isn't just coming from fans, it's coming from everywhere. The league, the sponsors, even the media machine that's been living off her story since college. So when Indiana makes a roster move, it doesn't just spark speculation about rotations, it sets off a media storm. And this latest move, it has fans absolutely convinced her comeback is happening now, but the reaction online took it even further. Because fans aren't just waiting, they're building wild theories about what's really going on behind the scenes. The second Indiana cut Keira Lambert, social media lit up like wildfire. And honestly, the theories fans started throwing out were pure chaos. Some swore this was a cover-up for Sophie Cunningham's health issues, that the Fever were hiding something way bigger. Others claimed Indiana was secretly signing Kennedy Carter, which makes no sense since she's already locked in elsewhere. But when fans are starved for answers, logic doesn't matter. The speculation writes itself. And then there were the dreamers, the ones posting nonstop that this has to mean Caitlin Clark is coming back. Every roster move, every cryptic silence from the team, every insider's vague tweet gets dissected like it's a government leak. One fan even wrote, "I'm checking the Fever's X account every 5 minutes like it's the stock market." And that's the level of obsession here. Nobody cares about bench rotations or end of roster cuts. All anyone sees is a giant neon sign pointing to Caitlin Clark, and if she doesn't step back on the court soon, that hype could easily turn into outrage. Because this isn't just about one player, this is about trust. Fans believe this move means something. They're convinced the comeback is happening, and if it doesn't, Indiana will be the ones taking the blame. But if it does, if Caitlin Clark really is coming back, then the ripple effects won't just hit Indiana, they'll shake the entire WNBA. Let's be honest, Caitlin Clark's return isn't just about the Indiana Fever, it's about the entire WNBA. When she's on the floor, defenses collapse, spacing opens, and suddenly her teammates look like stars. One player changes everything about how opponents prepare. Coaches build entire game plans just around slowing her down, and most of the time, it still doesn't work. But her impact goes way beyond X's and O's, with Clark playing arenas sell out. TV cameras show up, ESPN dedicates entire segments to the WNBA. She's not just lifting her team, she's dragging the entire league into the spotlight. That's why this roster move feels so massive. Cutting Keira Lambert wasn't about creating depth, it was about creating space for a superstar. Indiana knows it, the WNBA knows it, and fans know it too, because here's the truth. The Fever without Caitlin Clark are just another team fighting for a playoff spot. With her, they're must-watch basketball. With her, every game feels like an event. With her, the WNBA finally has the storyline it's been begging for. So no matter when Indiana officially announces it, one thing is already clear. The signs are there. The timing is perfect. And the message couldn't be louder. Caitlin Clark's comeback is closer than anyone thought.